Okay, I am here. My name is Scott Miller. I'm back with a data project for you this time. I know typically I do a lot of Salesforce and AWS projects, but I've been really involved in a lot of machine learning and learning AI and AWS projects in general. But today I'm not going to be on AWS or Salesforce. Today I'm building a machine learning model, a very simple machine learning model, and I'm going to present it on Streamlit. So basically, we'll be, an end user, and I'll demonstrate, the end user. But basically, you'll be able to go in to onto a web page and choose enter some criteria. Let's find that for you. So basically, you'll be able to enter some criteria and predict home prices. And we've narrowed it down to just Aberdeen, Maryland, and just an area that I'm familiar with. But I'm going to expand this project and run it into probably the state of Maryland and maybe even the entire country. And basically, we'll just keep incorporating newer and newer data. But what I've used is closed sales in Aberdeen, Maryland over the past 5 years up until pretty much this month. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate it real quick, and then I'll run through the project and show you how I built it. So first thing I want to do is we'll pull up a listing, and then we'll see if we can predict the sales price. Now, right now they are priced, so these are coming soon listings in Aberdeen. They are priced, but we don't know if they're priced correctly or even if our model is correct. So we'll look at 736 Wineberry Way. It's a 3-bed, and we'll consider it 4 baths. That's one of the limitations I have. I simplified it, and I just turned, a half bathroom into a half bathroom, and the model will only allow me to put whole integers in. But that's not a big deal. I'm going to revise it later, and it'll be a lot more granular later. But for now, we'll just go ahead and put, 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, and let's find out the square footage. I'm pretty sure this 1,560 square feet. So let's go ahead and see if we can predict that. So we'll start off by doing this, and then I'll run through the project. So we have 3 bedrooms, already set at 3 bedrooms. Bathrooms, we said it was 4. And 1,560 square feet. I gotta get the year built. That's one other thing I don't have. So it was built in 2009. Oops, not 2009. Not waterfront. And I did add waterfront as a feature because I did try it earlier on a waterfront property, and it way undervalued it. And I realized that waterfront was an important factor because it increased value probably by 30% or so. So I made sure to add waterfront as a binary variable. So I got all these variables in here, and like I said, this is specifically for Aberdeen. When I expand it, I'll probably add another feature for zip code or for city. Most likely, I'll use zip code, and then we'll use that as a as kind of a categorical variable. So let's go ahead and predict price. All right, so $272,091. That's probably on the low side. I think that's probably because of square footage, and that's another thing. I could probably consider the fact that it has a garage into this part, into one of the features, because that's probably going to add some value to it. So I do think that's a little low, but it's like I said, this is a very limited model, and it's only the first round of development, and there will be a lot of revisions, and a lot more data. So this is a waterfront property. So let's go ahead and try this one. This is 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, 2,449 square feet, built in 2019. So it's newer. So it's 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, 2450, and it is waterfront. So let's try it without waterfront first and see what it says. All right, so it comes up at 425,878. Now, as we saw, it's listed. Let's go ahead and turn that up, delete that. As we saw, that it's listed for $599, $999. So it came up at 425 if I put no waterfront. Now, if I put waterfront and predict, it comes up at 654, 243. So that's probably more accurate. I would say that depending on condition, that's pretty close. Considering this, it's a limited model, limited data set. We only have 1,891 records that we're predicting off of. But let's take a look at one more. So I like that result. This one, $535,000. This is 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 1,940 square feet, and built in 1992. How much was it? 1,940 square feet, I think it was. Another thing it doesn't factor in is the fact that it has a basement. So there's other features I'm going to have to add into here. But for now, like I said, it works. So let's go ahead and try this. All right, 332,000. That's a little low. That's a little low. Let's double check the square footage. 1,940. That's true. All right, so let's go ahead and look and see if there's a basement. That's the total below grade is 794 square feet. So let's go ahead and add that in. 2,700. So 2,700 square feet total. We'll include the basement and see if the model likes that. And we're learning real time what I need to fix. Okay, so $409,735. They have it listed for $535,000. And just for what's in giggles, let's take a look at the pictures and see. It's overpriced. I mean, you see the carpet's dirty, it hasn't been painted. And I haven't gone through the this is a new HVAC system. The basement's unfinished. I won't go into too many details, but it's overpriced. It's not $535,000 property. The lot size. Let me see. Where's the lot? So almost a half acre, but it's not a $535,000 property. Is it a 409? No, it's higher than that. It's probably more like 450. So the model does need some work, but this is a lot of fun to work with, and it shows me what I need to work on. So let's look at this one. Same neighborhood, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,668. So we'll add that to the below grade finished, so the finished basement, 4,154 total square footage. So 4,154, 2,668, 4,154, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, built in 2005. So this is a much newer property in that same neighborhood. Not waterfront. What was that number again? 4,100, 4,154. Oops. All right, so let's try it now. So about 500,000, and their list price is 550. So it's actually coming in a little low. It overvalued the water, but undervalued, a normal listing. And I'll be honest about that. It does need some tweaking. But that's why we do this. That's why it's just a trial, and that's why it's called development. But let's walk through real quick what we did to build this. I took this export from Bright MLS, which is basically 5 years of sales data in Aberdeen, and it's basically 5 years of sales data in Aberdeen, and I had to do a lot of cleaning of the data. So that's the way it's exported. And there's a lot of text in there, and we needed to convert it. We need to encode some values, and this is what the data looks like when we ran the model off of. So we had to do a lot of cleaning, a lot of data conversion, and this is what we have. Let's take a so we'll go ahead and pull up. We'll go ahead and pull up the initial model. So let's start with this model here. This is a Jupyter notebook. I installed pandas, NumPy, matplotlib, seaborn. We did some exploratory analysis, and this is just some of the a summary of the raw data. So this is based on the raw data. We actually started to do the model training in the Jupyter notebook, and then export a pickle file, and then use that in the actual predictions. But there was a little bit of conversion issue, so I just went ahead and just did some exploratory analysis here in Jupyter, and then went into Streamlit, and actually did the predictions in the separate file. It was easier when it came time to deploy the model and the rest of the interface that you saw in the browser. It was a lot easier to do that in one file, and I'll show you that file. This is just a summary of all the columns from that market analysis export. And another summary of the columns. And we did have to do some data conversion. There were some problems with the date. I realized that the date was a huge issue in getting it read by the algorithm. So we had to convert that. And what I ended up doing actually was just using a different column for month, day, and year, and that worked out fine. This is just a summary bar chart of, actually a color bar, I call it. But this is just a summary of prices and how they cluster along, how the sales prices cluster in certain areas. In this area, it looks like in the mid 300,000s, there are the most sales. So not the highest price area, not the worst either, but you don't see a lot of $1 million sales in this area. And here's a histogram, pretty much depicting the same. These are the counts of home sales in these price points. So we'll go ahead and take a peek at the Streamlit app. And here we imported Streamlit, pandas, matplotlib, seaborn, sklearn, and the gradient boot regressor. And the reason why we use gradient boost and not the linear regression is because there are some features in gradient boost that allow you to convert text or categorical or nominal values into numeric values using some encoding, and started to do that, and that's why I use this algorithm and not linear regression. But I ended up cheating and cleaning the data directly in the Excel file, and then just using it here. I did have to do some slight cleaning, some slight more cleaning here in the code. I had to convert some of the values to text into numbers, because for some reason when it loads the data, it imports it as text in some cases. So we had to make sure that they were converted. And here's where this is the line of code where we had to make sure it was forced into numeric and not text, because it threw an error every time I tried to run the application. So that's basically it. We did have to take this and deploy it to GitHub. And I took the Streamlit, the link to the file in GitHub, and just attached it to the application in Streamlit. And voila, we had an application that I'll go back to, and we'll take a look at that again. So, oops. For fun, let's find another property. Oops. Let's find one that's active and not coming soon. So let's look for an active listing. All right, so we got one. Let's take 736 Kicker Way. See how long has it been on the market? 8 days on the market. It seems high for this area. It's a decent neighborhood. Actually, right down the street from me. 736 Kicker Way. So 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, 3,400 square feet. Plus the basement. Remember, I have to include the basement. So 4,576 square feet. Let's see here. That was 4 bedrooms. What was it? 4 baths? Yes, 4 bedrooms, 4 baths. Built in 2013. Not waterfront. Okay, it's predict price. 507,879. So that's actually probably accurate. They got $614,900. I think that this one's actually probably closer to being realistic. I think they're going to have a rude awakening. But what I'm noticing is I'm going to need to include more features here in the inputs, the user inputs. Probably basement, yes or no, and basement square footage, and separate those from the total square foot to total square feet. I don't think I would have to worry about half baths and full baths. I don't think that's really going to be a factor. But I think, and lot size. So basement and lot size. I think those are my next tasks. So thanks for sitting with me through this. It's definitely a work in progress. I'll come back and I will show you how it looks after I add lot size and basement to the user inputs and see how it goes. Thanks a lot.